What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another XDefiant Gun Guide. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a deep look at the new and improved MDR, which is now, in my opinion, one of the best guns in the entire game. And diving right in, as always, let's have a look at our range and time to kill comparison. And as you can see here, it's going to be a 6 to 8 shot kill depending on the range. And within that 6 shot kill range, we're killing in 392 milliseconds, which is a pretty solid time to kill. It's not the fastest killing assault rifle in the game, but this is still a very solid and competitive time to kill. In saying that though, one downside with the MDR compared to the other assault rifles is it does have the worst range profile out of all of them. Our maximum damage range is only 23 meters, which is closer to an SMG than an assault rifle in this game. Although if we are going to make that comparison with SMGs, beyond that maximum damage range, we don't have nearly as steep of a drop-off compared to the SMGs. It does hold its own much better as an assault rifle as you stretch out ranges. But so far, just looking at that, it doesn't seem like the MDR is really a standout. However, the first area where the MDR now excels quite a bit is when we start looking at headshots, because it's the only assault rifle in the game where, against standard health enemies at least, you only need one headshot mixed in with body shots at any range to reduce the number of shots to kill. And that's pretty easy to do in this game. And what that means is now we have a very easy 5-shot kill potential up close for a 314 millisecond time to kill, and that's a very solid time to kill in this game, especially considering the fact that you can do it quite consistently. Furthermore, if we're fighting against Phantom players with 120 HP, this is another area where after the recent buff, the MDR excels quite a bit. Because even if we're just looking at body shots with the base gun, the MDR up close has the fastest time to kill potential against Phantom players for the full auto assault rifles. The M16 will still be better, but that's a burst gun, so it's not really an apples to apples comparison there. And not only that, not only does it excel with just body shots, against Phantom players, we still maintain that ability, at least in the maximum damage range, to reduce the number of shots to kill with just one single headshot mixed in. So with one headshot, now we can get a 6-shot kill for an even faster time to kill potential. And this actually makes the MDR one of the best options in the game right now for fighting against Phantom players, at least within that maximum damage range. Once you get beyond that, yeah, you're probably better off with something else. But up close and personal, the MDR is great against Phantoms. So far we can see the MDR definitely has a lot of power potential, especially when we're talking about mixing that single headshot in. Next, let's have a look at our recoil trends compared to the other assault rifles. And with the MDR, it's the only full auto assault rifle that has a very unique recoil pattern in the assault rifle category. Instead of the standard upward and to the right recoil, the MDR kicks almost straight upwards. It has a very slight lean toward the left, and it also has the most vertical recoil out of the assault rifle category here with 30 rounds fired. And then on top of that, one final note here is you do bounce side to side a fair amount. I've noticed with attachments, if you use attachments that improve the ADS stability, that actually seems to cut down on that side to side bounce as it kicks upward. But in general, I find the MDR to be reasonably accurate, especially within the ranges that this is really intended to be used for. I wouldn't consider this to be your best option at longer ranges, but for close to mid-range, that recoil is just fine. Next up, let's get into our handling stats, and this is yet another area where the MDR excels. With this gun, it has the fastest aim down sight time and sprint out time, tied with the LVOAC in the assault rifle category at 250 milliseconds for both of those values. And that's excellent to see if you want to be a bit more aggressive with this. And then on top of that, its reload add time is pretty standard for an assault rifle at 1.39 seconds. And then finally, for the base stats of this gun, without attachments, let's have a look at our movement speeds, and this is yet another area where the MDR excels. It's got the fastest movement speeds in the assault rifle category, and interestingly, based on my testing, the base movement speed and sprint movement speed are very slightly faster than SMGs by default as well. Although since I don't have an absolutely perfect method of testing movement speeds, it's possible this is the same as SMGs, it's just off by like 0.02 meters per second, which admittedly could be within the margin of error. In either case, it is absolutely faster than all of the assault rifles by a noticeable margin, and that allows you to get around the map and also strafe noticeably faster. And there we go, those are all of the important base stats for the MDR. Next, let's get into the heavy barrel, since after the update, the heavy barrel is an amazing attachment on this gun, to the point where I will rarely use this gun without the heavy barrel. So let's have a look at the stats on this. With this attachment, we will see a reduction to our rate of fire down to 689 rounds per minute, but it's worth it because at every range, it's going to take us one less shot to kill with the heavy barrel. So it's now going to be a 5 to 7 shot kill instead of a 6 to 8 shot kill. And what this means is our time to kill potentials are very noticeably faster. Up close, we're killing in just 348 milliseconds to the body, which is an excellent time to kill potential that holds its own up close against SMGs. Additionally, against Phantom players, it's going to reduce the number of shots to kill in the maximum damage range, so up close and personal, and also in our minimum damage range, so at longer ranges, whereas at mid-range, it will maintain the same number of shots to kill. And therefore, in that mid-range, we're killing slightly slower since our rate of fire is also slowed down with the heavy barrel, but in the other two ranges, like right up close and personal, we got a very fast time to kill potential, against Phantom players at least, at 435 milliseconds. So overall, I would say the heavy barrel is an excellent attachment on the MDR just for pure consistency, but just a reminder, if you're not using the heavy barrel and you're consistently able to land at least one headshot at any range, you'll actually end up with a faster time to kill because you're not taking the rate of fire hit and you're still able to cut down on the number of shots to kill, just like you would see with the heavy barrel. So that's why I would say the heavy barrel isn't 100% necessary on this gun, but I do really like it just because you have consistency without having to make sure you're landing that headshot. And on a similar note there, I did want to talk a little bit about the Cleaners faction. We actually see a very similar story when using Cleaners. If you don't want to use the heavy barrel or you don't have access to it, as I was leveling up the MDR, I didn't have the heavy barrel, and therefore I went with the Cleaners faction, and that has essentially the same effect with a slight delay on it. So it will reduce the number of shots to kill at all ranges by having that bonus burn damage. It's just that it might take you about half a second for that burn damage to apply and finish off the enemy player. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for the breakdown of the MDR. And like I said toward the beginning, after the recent buff, I now consider the MDR to be one of the best guns in the game, if not the best gun in the entire game, at least for players that like to play a bit more on the aggressive side and keep themselves up close and personal. At longer ranges, it still holds its own, but it's absolutely not going to be your best bet. But generally speaking, with the maps in this game, you can navigate them in a way where you always avoid those really long-range engagements. And with all of that out of the way, we can finally move into some excellent attachment combinations I threw together for you guys. And we're going to start this off with my personal favorite. This is my Strafe build. And with this one, we're using that heavy barrel, so it's a consistent 5, 6, or 7 shot kill depending on the range. We also have the small vert grip on the front rail, the lightweight stock, the leather wrapped rear grip, and the quick mag attachments. And with all of these combined, our handling stats are slightly slower than the base at 262.5 milliseconds for both our aim down sight and sprint out time, but that's still faster than most of the assault rifles in the game, so that's still very solid in that area. Our reload time is sped up nicely at just 1.19 seconds, and we have an increased magazine capacity with that quick mag. Our base movement speed and sprint movement speed are faster due to these attachments, which means we're actually getting around the map noticeably faster than SMGs now. And our aim down sight movement speed is insanely fast at 4.26 meters per second, so you're able to strafe in gunfights and dodge shots very, very effectively. And not only that, the recoil on this is solid. We don't have quite as much side-to-side bounce with our recoil, and you'll notice the total magnitude of recoil here is roughly the same as the base recoil, but I'm firing 35 rounds instead of 30. So this setup overall is just excellent all around. It's got no major downsides to it. And I've been finding a ton of success with this, and this is absolutely my go-to. But next up, just as an alternative, let's have a look at what I like to call my MDR SMG build. So this one is designed for really stealthy flanking and snapping on a target very, very quickly like an SMG. And with this one, we're using a suppressor in the muzzle, although if you're using the Echelon faction, you can swap that out for something else. But this just allows you to stay off the radar without using Echelon. We've got the lightweight barrel on this, the pistol grip in the front rail, the quick draw rear grip, and then finally, once again, we have that quick mag. And with this one, we're taking a bit of a hit to our range, but that's okay since we're treating it like an SMG, and now it has a pretty similar maximum damage range as what you would see with an SMG. Although again, just a reminder, beyond that maximum damage range, it holds its own much better than an SMG would. For our aim down sight speed, this is very fast at 187.5 milliseconds, and our sprint out time is just a little bit slower than that at 200 milliseconds. We get that same boost to our reload time and magazine capacity as the previous build. And our base movement speed and sprint movement speed are very noticeably faster than SMGs in this game, so you can sprint around the map very, very quickly with this build. However, it is worth noting, I didn't put anything into our aim down sight movement speed, so this is really designed to just snap on a target and get your shots off quickly, and I would recommend throwing some jumps in there as well if you want to try to evade shots, since we don't have that increased strafing ability. Now with this one, it is worth noting our recoil is noticeably worse than the base, but since we're treating it like an SMG, that's fine. We're not trying to challenge people across the map with this setup. And overall, this is just a solid build for those of you guys that like your extreme run and gun setups. But then finally, I wanted to share a bit more of a balanced, versatile build with this that can hold its own a bit better at longer ranges, even though it's still not going to be your best bet at long range. But with this one, we're once again using the heavy barrel. We've got the angled grip on our front rail, the padded stock, the heavy rear grip, and then finally the reflex optic And with this one, we get the time to kill benefits of that heavy barrel at any range. Our handling stats are unchanged from the base, so it's still going to be very noticeably better than the assault rifles at 250 milliseconds. We did hurt our base movement speed and sprint movement speed a little bit, but this one isn't designed to be quite as aggressive, and honestly it still keeps up with the other assault rifles just fine with these movement speeds. And our recoil is very noticeably better, especially with that side-to-side bounce. We're seeing a lot less of that side-to-side bounce, which actually makes this significantly easier to control if you're stretching your ranges out a bit. Now this one isn't my preferred build, it's just something I wanted to offer for those of you guys that prefer those more like mid to somewhat longer range gunfights. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the new and improved MDR in XDefiant. And this is where I'm curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you feeling about this gun after the recent buff? Do you guys agree with me? Do you think this is now one of the best guns in the entire game? Or are you not really liking it so much? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.